our body, once we love our body as much as our body loves us, it's like we do our body the worst disservice. It's constantly working. I believe our mind and our body work together to serve our higher purpose, right? But right now, the mind has kind of taken control of the gig.
Today, we are speaking with DeBorah Bellony. She is the founder of Who I Am Communications. She's the author of 2 books, and she's working on third. DeBorah, could you please introduce yourself and let people know just a little more about you, please?
Okay. My name is DeBorah Bellony. I was born in the US to Caribbean parents. My mother's from Antigua, my father from Dominica. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings and the only girl. And I'm an author, astrologer, conscious co-creation coach. And I have a very unique and winding road to the path that took me to this place where I'm at today. So before I even get started, I just want to start with 2 quotes to express how unique that path was. The first quote would be from Mark Twain, who says, the 2 most important days of your life is the day you were born and the day you found out why you were born. And as astrologer, I feel that's so important. Um, we're all we don't realize how much we are one with nature. You know, we look at plants. You plant a seed in the ground, it grows, and so forth. And we're all made of the same stuff of stars. So if we're made of stars, that means we're seeded to do something. And I think, to give you an analogy, people understand if someone like who's a musician or an athlete, they could go as far as maybe playing elementary or high school. Some people go as far as playing in college. Other people play music regionally, and then you have some people who go internationally and then internationally. We kind of understand that there's that progress or that potential, but there's also that same seed for people who are star seeded to do stuff that are not as common, like spiritual growth, you know? And I think for those people, life is a little harder because it's not consensus reality in terms of what it is, or they may not even know. They might be judging themselves from what other people are doing, and they're not seated to do this different thing. And the moment you realize why you are here, it's just like, oh my gosh, now I understand why I'm a swan and not a duck, you know? So that's the first quote, and it's leading up. The second quote is I love this quote. It's called "While we're playing checkers, God is playing chess." And basically, what that means is that, okay, if you look at the chess board, it's the same board whether you're playing checkers or chess. But you can look at checkers as being like a lower mind. You just hopping over the other one. This is what I want. This is how I want things to go, as the lower mind. Whereas when you're on the chessboard from the higher vision, where our guides and God kind of knows why we're here and we kind of forgot, um, you start off as a pawn, but guess what? You could evolve to become a knight or a king or what have you. But the path is long, and we go on that path. And I think that's what happened to me. I started off, I played on a basketball scholarship when I graduated from undergrad from Bourne Park High School. I went, played at North Carolina Central. Then I wanted to be a publisher. I went to NYU to learn book and magazine publishing, and that's what I was going to do. And then after that, I went to graduate school to learn nonprofit administration. And then I thought that was what I was going to do, work for Georgia Black United Fund and different nonprofits. And I got disheartened from that. It's like, and then I went, left all of that. I studied acupuncture in Sri Lanka and homeopathy. And I loved that, but it was just like the needles. It was something more. So it was again on another search. Then I ended up working at the University of Creation Spirituality in Oakland. And then I ended up working at the Astrological Institute in Scottsdale, Arizona. And it's not that all of these things were failures, but they were steps along the way. I remember hearing from one quote that said, what if all of the life challenges is not because you're doing anything wrong, but it's that you're being prepared to be initiated into another level that, that transcends a lot of things. When you look at someone like Pele or you look at someone like Sting, it doesn't matter what religion you are, what race you are, you admire Pele. And what generation? I have a young my best friend's uncle. He loves Pele because he has evolved in his sport to that level. And I think when we understand what we came here to do spiritually, which I had to find out in 2012, and we'll talk more about that. But I'll give you a chance to ask me some questions on that.
DeBorah, you are a very deep person after looking through and researching you. You are very active in many uh, things to advocate for people. One of the things that you talk about is conscious co creation. I'm really interested in that, and I'm really interested in what you mean by that. Could you explain to us what that means?
Yes. So basically, we are always co-creating with the creator of all there is. Like when we say we eat a meal, do we go through and digest every bit of it? Or when a woman has a baby, they're creating a child, but they're co-creating it. It's like the face, the fashion, all of that. So we're always co-creating with the creator. So our life, the way it is, whether we love it or whether we don't love it, it's what we've been co-creating with our thoughts, our ideas, and so forth. The things that we say that we're not aware of, we're co-creating at every moment. It doesn't just stop with the baby or the food. It starts with your thoughts and your emotions. So to co-create consciously means that you understand the power of the word I am. Whatever comes after I am is a powerful word of causation. So to consciously co-create, there are certain laws that are around that help us to understand that we are co-creating with the creator of all there is, our reality. And I think if people understood that, I mean, most people, we don't believe that. This is just words because we've had so much heartbreaks in our lives. I talk about that in my book, the four isms that, because our heart is like electromagnetic energy, so much powerful more than the mind, right? But we block that power when we have these heartbreaks. And the three places in life I feel that we've all had some heartbreak in a way from each direction in every way is the isms that I focus on, which is uh, racism, sexism, and ageism. Those are the like generational age discrimination, um, gender wise, and race. Those are the three that I think, because it's so elusive in our society, these things that they affect us on. It doesn't matter how or from who or what direction. We're all affected by these things. And because of that, we lose a lot of our power, access to that, to the heart. So part of my journey that started in 2012 when I started, like I was saying before the breakup, that I did all these different things in my life. And wasn't into 2012 what I really found out what I was really star seeded to do. And I mean, I ran from when I was living in Arizona working at the Astrological Institute. I remember that we still have to do. It was the first accredited program for astrology and psychology in the world. I remember there was people like at Dateline 2020 saying, how can we take government money for astrology? That's not even a credible field and all of that. And I remember, and in 1986, it was illegal. It was illegal to even practice it. So now we have this accredited program. I ended up there serendipitously through my travels. They needed a development officer, and my graduate degree was in nonprofit administration. So I ended up at the time when I was living in Arizona. Um, I was working at Changing Hand Bookstore, And someone came in and said, there's a accredited program for astrologists. So I ended up going, and serendipitously, they need some of my skills. So I ended up being able to take classes, and I learned a lot about it. But almost I lost my train of thought. What I was saying, but yeah. So I found out that who when we used to do these vocational events, and to get students to become astrologers, they used to laugh us out of the building, when they have these fairs for students to come to. So in the back of my mind, who wants to be in a field that is looked down upon, right? So I got into other things. I went to the writing and everything, but it's really what I was store seated to do. It's just that it wasn't popular. You know what I mean? And so 20 years later, I come back full circle. That was like in 2002, I think, when I worked there. And then I ended up going all these other things. But the universe put me in the right place when I was in Mexico. And it took me 6 cities to get there. It was a long path, and I talk about it in my blog. But I thought I was going there to teach English as a second language. I ended up house sitting, and that's when in 2012, a lot of people don't realize, how the Mayan prophecies, they talked about the end of the world in 2012. That's what people, that was the sense, what's that word, like sensationalism about what happened. But if people really look closely at 2012, a lot of people got their mission in 2012. They shifted direction in 2012. And it had to do with Neptune going into Pisces. A lot of people at that time. However, what people also don't realize, the Mayan calendar didn't say it was the end of the world, it was the end of an era. And what also happened in 2012 is that there was a thing that happens in every 100, 150 years, which is called the Venus occultation, where the Venus goes across the face of the sun. That happens in pairs, and it happens like every 100 and something years. Now, Venus also has an 8-year cycle. So when you take 2012 and you add 8, what does that give you? What year does that give
2020? Is that correct?
you? So what does that tell you about what happened in 2020? The world shut down. So so it's like nothing happens like people think, oh, that was nothing because they didn't see anything happen at that moment. But everything is a progression. We're talking about the end of a major cycle, not the end of the world, just the end of a major cycle. So if people were reading the signs in 2012 was a very crucial time that wasn't out yet 8 years later when Venus completed its 8-year cycle. It came in 2012. So I think we're so used to the quick thing that happened that we think like, oh, nothing's happened because it didn't happen yesterday like everybody said it would. So there's that. And in 2012 is when I started to get these downloads. I call it or the reluctance astrologer journey to revealing the magi mysteries. So there's a system called the destiny cards, which is preserved in the regular playing cards. I've been studying it for many years, but it wasn't in 2012 when I started to get all these other downloads, how it's connected to math and how it's connected to so many different things. And it's been a 13-year journey just getting used to all the things about what the system really means. It's just amazing. And I was a reluctant astrologer in that because it was so much of my time, so much of my sacrifices I had to do. Um, at the time, I wasn't working. Like I had to live what I call the Buckminster Fuller's life. Are you familiar with Buckminster Fuller?
I am not.
Buckminster Fuller is a architect. He was an architect that was known for making the geodesic dome that you see in.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, but and he's been known to have some very great quotes like you don't change things by looking at where they're at. You make a better model and make the other model obsolete. I know you've probably heard of that quote. He's known for that. Humanities is in its 11th hour. But a lot of what people don't know about Buckminster Fuller is that he lived a life where he was ready to commit suicide. He got kicked out of Harvard. He just felt his life was a failure. And one time he was just like, I'm just going to take my life. But the universe was like, no, we got work for you. And he's like, well, if you're going to make it happen, it's just going to have to happen. So he lived a life. What I think was so amazing is that it's more, I could appreciate more because he had a wife and children. But he's like, the money comes, it's gonna happen. If it doesn't come, it doesn't happen. And that's how he lived his life. If it wasn't, the money didn't show up, it showed up when it needed to show up. So that's what I had to do back in 2012. I had to live this life of just complete surrender. And I remember I have a friend that kind of lived like that. She's that famous actress who just recently passed, Barbara O. And I'm like, oh, I can never live like that. I need to know where my money's coming from. I got to. And little did I know, while I was playing checkers, the universe was playing chess, lining me up to where I needed to be to get what I needed to get to do what I need to do. And that's life, you know. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, it's strong and powerful. You know, when we line up the stars, if you will, we just happen. And it's I'm Christian, and I have been watching for these certain signs in the stars for as long as I can remember, because these signs tell us things. And I really believe wholeheartedly in that. I'm not a master in the craft at all, but I do understand there are signs, and I do understand what signs we're looking for. Can I spot those? Not really.
And look at the three wise men.
Exactly. So, you know,
Yeah, the three wise men. Yeah.
yeah, it's all by inspiration anyway. And, you know, I think it's really going into the next subject that I wanted to speak with you about. You speak of the veil of illusion. You know, I think in our world today, we're full of misillusion. And I really think that we're veiled with illusion, if you will. We're covered with it. So, did I misunderstand what you mean by that? Or what are you talking about when you speak of the veil of illusion?
Okay, so there how would I say that? There's so much that I've learned on my path, you know. Um, I'll use the example of my own mother. My mother, she was a member of a Rosicrucian society. I knew it when I was growing up, but I was on my own path and I thought, all these people, they don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. But when she passed away and I happened to see her books, not only was she a Rosicrucian, she was at the highest degree of Rosic. She was at the 12th level. When I saw that and when I looked at the stuff that she had, my mouth dropped because I was like, here I thought my mom was just, you know, Catholic, 7-Day Adventist, she's doing this, and then little did I know she was privy to so much information. And I started to, that was the biggest gift she gave me because I like to use this analogy. I use this a lot. I talked about there's two types of beings and there's two states of beings. Okay. The two types of beings are the two states of beings I should start with are asleep. When you're asleep, you don't hear nothing. And the other state of being is being awake, right? Um, if you're asleep and someone is talking to you about financial loans or whatever the thing is, you're not hearing anything. It's going through one ear and out because you're asleep. Now we all have states of asleep and awake, and the other two states of being are initiated and uninitiated. And we all are awake and initiated in certain areas of our life and asleep and uninitiated in other areas of our life, right? And interestingly enough, the two play off each other. Sometimes it takes the ones who are asleep to initiate the ones who are awoke. And vice versa. So now I'll give you an example of my mother. When my mom passed, uh, I realized she didn't have not 1 cent. I knew the importance of like leaving a financial legacy. But when I had to go through my mom's stuff when she passed, and 5 times I saw life insurance policies that she let elapse, I was like, and I had to come to the realization she had nothing. And that awoke me to the importance of leaving a financial legacy. However, I'm now going through the initiation through my star seated way of doing it, not the way that society says make money this way, that way, that way. I'm now going through the initiation of knowing how important it is to leave a financial legacy. And my path is quite interesting. It's quite telling, but just like Buckminster Fuller, when he was ready to give it up, he just trusted the process and it landed him to be one of the most popular and beloved people in the nonprofit world, and the architectural world. So I don't know if I answered your question. So I hope I did, but that's
Well, regardless, DeBorah, that was on my list. You know, that very thing about your mother and the legacy building. You know, it's really important for people to understand that some things trigger us to understand why we're here. And sometimes, you know, for instance, myself, I feel like I'm walking this lonely road, but there's so many with me. And it's interesting that it took disaster in my life to spark that road of discovery, because I was stupid. I was just lost, and I was stumbling around in life just hoping for the best to come my way instead of initiating it and, you know, baby stepping what I want into existence. Because sometimes we start late in life, and then we discover, oh, I wish I could have started this way back here. But is that going to stop us from that calling? And I can tell that you have this calling and a gift. So another thing that you talk about is Will Allen and Karen Parker, and not ever giving up. I think that falls right into line with what we are talking about here, is it not?
yes, yes, they had the growing power. And I mean it was so, I mean, it's amazing how that thing it lasted for 20 years, but dysfunction and all of that, it's still, there was something I learned about not giving up. That's so important because you could be half an hour, a half a minute away from a miracle if you just stay consistent to the goal. And again, to like the chess and the checkers, you start off as a pawn, right? But with time, you can learn how to get to the other side of that board. It's almost as if to say, when you look at the relationship with God and man, God comes down in man, woman and man, so that man could rise up to become God. So God becomes man, so man could become God. This is an evolution, just like you see water going down and up, and this is an evolution that we're all star seeded to do. This is something, and now some people they may not go all the way, like I said, to the international level of sportsmanship or musician, where you could just be known by your first name, Sting, Prince, and it's everybody. Just it doesn't matter what nationality they are. That's how we need to evolve. No one doubts that a baby will one time walk and grow and have children of his own. We know that that's its seeded potential. But guess what? If we're only using 10% of our brain, what kind of potential do we have to evolve to? And what potential have we fallen from? So it's like there's so much more to evolve to, but there's the consensus reality. And to be initiated means that there's going to be a lot of people who are asleep that are going to be knocking you all upside your head so that you could be initiated to awaken that part of you. And they'll go through the same thing. And we're all going through it in cycles and cycles. I'm just going to read one of my favorite quotes from George Washington Carver. And I see how important it is in life. He says, how far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, tolerant of the weak, and strong. Because someday in your life, you will have been all of these things. Okay. We would have been all of these things. And so when I look at people, whatever stage they're in, it's not for me to worry because I understand, I believe in past life. And I believe the true Christians who are the Essenes, they believed in reincarnation in their doctrine. So even in the more ancient form of Christianity, there was this understanding of reincarnation. I mean, we don't get it in one life. We don't learn all what we learn in one grade. We go to 10, 12, college, on and on and on. And so when we understand that, we understand there's two forces in life. There's forces going down and going back up. There's this constant evolution of cycles of growth. And once we understand that, we understand where we're at in that pattern. We don't knock anybody else, whether it be parent life. It's all needed in order for us to be exactly where we're at any given time.
Yeah, I like that a lot. You know, the cycles like that, those dark times when we're going down, it really lightens us. It lightens our load because it crushes us and it really makes us able to get back up without all of the debris on us. And it's funny how things do line up in this universe. The world is part of this great big energy, and there's so much hatred in our world, and I really look at that a lot in my life, and I I have went through those cycles of hatred myself, and I wonder, why do we have to hate before we can figure out what love is?
Hmm. Have you got any answers so far?
I've gotten a lot of answers, and the meaning is really not clear yet to me, but I do understand it's more about humanity and all of us as a completeness and a wholeness. But I don't see how it all comes back together to that greatness yet. I know it's going to.
So what I talk about in my book, I use this analogy in my book. Okay, so imagine you have two people, they just married and they're in love. They got a beach resort, they're looking outside on their patio and they're looking at the night sky and they see a beautiful falling star go down like that. They're like, wow, that's so amazing. Amazing to them. But if you happen to be life on that planet and you are on that planet, it's hell and mayhem because that's a whole end of a civilization of that star dying. Right? So what it is we have to raise our perspective of how we see things. You know, I have a quote I say, when we focus on the they, we're all gonna pay because it's all God. That's the title of my third book. It's all God. And it's the generator, operator, destroyer. These are the three modes of creation. Going through creation, it's the same way like if you have a phone um, and the battery runs out, you have to put it on dark, plug it in, and let it recharge so that it could come back another day. You know, when it's light one place, it's dark another place. And this polarity is something that these people in these so-called secret societies and everything understand. They understand that polarity is how everything stays in existence. You know, you need night and you need day, you know. And so once you understand that that's part of a bigger cycle, the crap that we eat, it goes back in compost and it comes back and it feeds us one day. If we understand life as a journey of that sort, we understand that there's constant movement. And even though now we're dark, another day, you know, it's going to rise, you know. So I think astrology helps with that because we understand where we're at in our personal evolution when we understand it. But see, I have a way that I look at astrology. And I think this is important because now that astrology is becoming more popular, I think it had a bad rap before. And if other people are practicing in a way, oh, this means you're going to doomsday, this, that. It's like people want to run from astrology. They don't want to hear bad news. But the way I talk about two analogies how I look at astrology. I look at it like you have a farmer, right? They know what seed to plant. They know what seed is. They know what climate is the best to plant it. And they know how much time it takes to plant the seed. But that farmer is useless if she doesn't till the soil, plant the seed, water it, nurture it, take care of it. You see, it's just that information is not going to help that person if they don't use it. It's not what astrology is going to use. Well, how you're using it. And then you have the example of a doctor. She a surgeon. A surgeon goes into the operation room. What does she wear? Does she wear a police outfit? No, she doesn't put on a police outfit. She puts on shrugs because that's the best outfit to do that job that she was star seated to do. Does the shrugs make her a doctor? Or does the doctor make the scrubs? You see? So once we understand that to be a conscious so understanding the journey and your life path and your cycles to make better choices is half, and that's another way I look at it, is to make better choices. It's just not to know your life path and make the same old dumb mistakes. It's sort of like once you know your life path, you have a light bill and you have a gas bill. You forgot which ones to pay. The gas bill was due, but you paid the light bill. Well, guess what? Your gas is going to be out because you didn't pay the right bill at the right time. So there's times when we need to focus on certain things. And when we focus on it at that time, we get the benefits of it. But there's still the work of clearing the mental and emotional blockages. So now I'm going to get to the crux of what I experienced in 2012 is that when I was there and I was house sitting for like 13 years there, and I had to clear a lot of mental and emotional blockages that stopped me. I must have went through like over 20 different techniques of healing and whatnot, but to know is just half the battle, as GI Joe says. The other half is to clear those subconscious blocks that prevent us from living out our natural nature. We are not our sign, we're not our part or our sign, we are uh, divine essence of the creator within us. We're an expression of that. However, because we have all of these blockages, I want to know what is stopping us from expressing that divinity within us, and that's where astrology can help, if it can help. In terms of how it's practiced and how people approach it.
Yeah. Well, cycles. Everything is a cycle, and we if we're aware of that, it goes well for us. My cousin used to tell us all the time the 7 P's: proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And I think that's really important for people to plan properly and understand what they're planning. And a lot of us, we go through life without a cause per se. We're stumbling, and we are chasing somebody else's dream because we see this person doing that, so we think we should do that so we can fit that. And that's not best for us. We really should understand what passion is, and understanding how to attach ourselves to that passion, because you call it star seeding, but you do have a calling, and I can guarantee it may come later in life, it might come early in life, we don't know that, but there's a time, a place, and a reason for that. I do 100% believe that. So,
Yeah, it's like, oh, sorry.
well, go ahead, because I was just going to end with how do we understand that calling, and how do we avoid missing the calling?
So, I mean, astrology helps with understanding it, but not everybody's going to have access to that. So life is going to teach us. I think it would be cool if we thought that this was the only life, and I know this. I don't know how people believe in reincarnation, but even if it wasn't the only life, um, we're always going to go back. We're always going to have different opportunities to do it. So I'm not one person who says like I'm thankful for all my experiences, all the wrong things, all the things that's happened that's not so good, and they're all informing me of who I could still be, because that doesn't change. What your story seeded to do, it may not happen when you're this. So I wish it would have happened, but maybe there's all these points along the way is what you needed to get. So that, like for example, you have two cars that are brand new. They're both brand new. They've been put through the whole thing, and one was not put on the trial test, and the other one was put on for a trial test to see, on the road, which one would you buy? Would you buy the one that wasn't tested, or you buy the one that was?
The one with the safety testing. Yeah.
Yeah. So even though we're all starting to do this stuff, it's like my mama had a quote when I was growing up: "You never know what's in an ant gut until you smush it." But that's not. That's kind of graphic. But basically, what she means is that we have to be, so many great plans to come, and then when in reality, the whole thing falls apart. So the universe wants to make sure that we could appreciate what it is we have. It's almost like the millionaire who, I think this is a true story. He won the lottery and he loved his granddaughter, and he gave her everything, but he didn't test if she was ready for that amount of money. And she got the wrong person. She got doing drugs and she died. It's almost like you have a child, you love them, you want them to have a car, you give them a car, but what, they don't have the driver's license? What happened? They could die. So we're tested to make sure that we are ready for this kind of responsibility. It's a big responsibility to come here and at this time to do the work. And so the tests are part of the journey, part of the initiation. The sleep and awake and the initiated and uninitiated.
Well, I do believe, you know, as a Christian, we say we are going to be resurrected. That's reincarnation. Uh, uh, Jesus says, "You shall be born again." Uh, so, our understanding of all of this may not be perfect, but I do understand that I will die and be resurrected in my belief. So a lot of people do argue about words, but the meaning behind the words are still the same meaning behind the words, no matter how they're spewed. So I think we really need to understand how to love and get along more, because we're really good at hating and defying what this body can produce excellent things, and we choose to do wrong things. And I believe that's why we are here. I believe we're supposed to experience all of this sin. So we want to spew it out and not experience it anymore. And that way, when the new kingdom does come down, we won't see all of this hatred and vileness that we're experiencing, because none of us will want it. Uh, what do you think about that?
I got caught up in what you're saying. I had something in my mind and I was like, okay, let me just let go of that and just hear you. And so that my response could be as natural as possible. Um, I feel that there's a quote. There's a quote that I wrote when I was younger. It said, "People are always separated by ideas, concepts, and religion, right? But they're always brought together by their actions." So what do I mean by that? A person that has the seed of goodness inside of them, it don't matter if the person is Muslim, Christian, it don't matter. They are going to find a way to gravitate to each other and do something. They're going to transcend all the differences because that is what they are seeded to do. They don't care about religion. They don't care about all that because they see it's all saying the same thing anyway, in a sense, right? So people could use anything to do anything. They brought so-called and captured Africans in the good ship Jesus, you know, to the U.S., to the Americas is how the story goes. So people could use anything. They can have all the titles in the world, Marxist, this, that, this, left, right. When you have people who are doing something, they let go of all those titles and they focus on what is good. They see beyond all of that. So that's why I say when you focus on a we all gonna pay. Because my path that led me to what I'm at now, it started with many things. I was in this movement and that movement. I know when to shed those movements because they're limited in my essence growth. I know when to let them go. So it's not for me to preach about anybody who's at this path and this. It works for them. It works for them. But you telling me, someone preaching to me about Christianity and this and that and this what you need, you're gonna go to hell. I'm like, listen. It's just to me that's just like someone telling me I'm looking at a tree. I see a mango tree, and they're trying to tell me that it's an orange tree. They're going in and out on all the facts in the world about how this is an orange tree, and I see mangoes growing from that tree. You think I'm going to believe them? You think I'm going to believe them that that is an orange tree when I see mangoes growing from that tree? So I tell people, this is another quote of mine: religion, not children, should be seen and not heard. Religion, not children, should be seen and not heard. What do I mean by that? You will see it in a person if they are so-called what they say they are. And if they're not, their actions. Some people say, I can't hear you because your actions are so loud, I can't hear a word you're saying. So yeah.
That's right. I agree 100% with that. And that's why I don't use a lot of preaching in my podcast. I believe that's up to the individual to understand. However, I do have beliefs that guide me. And I too believe 100% that Christianity, especially, has a bad name because people don't understand what you just outlined. It's through how you act, what you do, not what you say. What you say is easy to say, but I see so many people using good intention to profit themselves, and that's pure evil. And that has given so many good intentions a bad light. So it's up to each and every person to decide, are you going to be good or bad? I believe that 100%. And how we walk that is up to us. I believe there's a higher power, and I believe something made us all for a reason. Am I smart enough to figure all that out? That's why I'm speaking to you today, and I speak to everybody else because I want to understand where everybody is in not only their life, it's my life too, because I'm here with you and I want it to be harmonious. And we have to understand each other, not to force change on anyone, because I can't make you change. That's impossible. You have to decide to honor that and do it yourself. And I don't even know if you want to change. I don't care about that. That's a personal, it's a trip, it's a journey. And as long as we can get through it without all of the hatred, violence, and most of all, misunderstandings. And that's by owning up to who we are. Go ahead.
Right. So one of the greatest gifts I've got from being on this journey has taught me that okay, so there's three aspects of things. The one is understanding your life path and cycles, so you can make better choices with astrology, whatever tools you have. And then there's clearing the mental and emotional blockages with certain techniques I've worked on that help me to clear certain things. But there's another aspect which is interesting because it's the aspect of being okay with what is. But understanding the reason why we're not better conscious co-creators is because there's certain ways of a conscious co-creators thinks. I talk about the 4 questions conscious co-creators ask, and 7 universal principles. So you have the actions and the techniques. So I'll give you an example. So I do the techniques, but my wrist was hurting me for a while. And I did the technique, it didn't work. And I realized, oh, I need to embrace this pain. It's for a reason, it's teaching me something, you see. And that's where the universal principle comes in. We think that we just want to get out of pain. Sometimes pain is necessary. Sometimes pain is part of the process to the next stage. So techniques alone is not going to do it. You can't depend. What is more important than having a technique and wanting to be out of pain is embracing pain to be out of pain. There's a slight difference. Some people who just want to be out of pain and use techniques, appeals to a person that applies universal principles of how to live their life, that embraces what comes so they can transform what is. And so I realized that conscious co-creation coaching was a way to teach people these principles of how to live their life. There's a certain way, like a musician, they know the 7 notes, they play it over and over and over to get better at it. They're not going to be a master the first time they learn these principles. But as they practice and get better at it, and ask these questions in cycles and cycle, the growth continues to evolve. And that's what we're all doing. We're all at different stages, and we all will get there because we all came out of the source and we all will go back. So once we understand that, it just creates us, it gives a certain level of contentment, but not complacency. So that's the balance. You want to be content with the journey, but not complacent, because we came here for a reason to have these experiences. And when we have these experiences, we understand these cycles, we understand these universal principles. Life brings us challenges, but it doesn't demolish us because we have universal principles that guide our lives. And I had some student interns for my business, and I teach. And that's the first thing I teach them: these 7 principles of how to live. And then whenever we have a problem, this is the way my teacher taught me when I studied acupuncture. But he used the 7 laws of the Kabbalah. But it's like whenever we learn something, he goes, "What principle is that? What principle?" So we're always thinking about what universal principles am I dealing with to handle this situation? If they complain, okay, what principle are you dealing with right now? And then they have to tell me, and then they're like, okay, so it's teaching them to, it's giving them it's more than just giving a technique. It's sort of like giving someone a fish, whereas understanding universal principles is teaching them how to fish for themselves to make their life better.
Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. I believe in that principle where teach them to fish so they can feed themselves forever. And so many want to control the food per se in your life that you know so many miss an abundant life just because of that. So yeah, I think it's really good to be broad in how you think and, open to understanding because that's where you're going to shift to true wisdom. And it's, we didn't make the world, we're just in the world. And there are these certain principles. If you fall off of a cliff, you're going to die. So we avoid cliffs, right? So if we dive into experiencing what those limits truly are without crossing those boundaries, that can be a good life. However, how can we understand what the boundaries are if we're not setting our boundaries?
When you say not setting your boundaries, how do you mean? Make sure I understand. You mean, give me an example.
Yeah, everything in life you have to set a boundary on. If you're eating, you have to set your boundaries. Are you going to eat too much or are you going to eat enough? There's that middle ground on everything. And or there's a cause and effect in life. So we want to find a balance in life and understand when that balance is too far or not enough because a lot of us don't have enough.
And that's why I teach in my conscious co-creation workshop. I talk about the 4 questions every conscious co-creator must ask. And in time, you ask these questions in it maybe every quarter, whatever, because the answers to those questions will change as you continue to grow. And then you have the 7 universal principles. And a teacher named Almin, she talks about these I forgot the name, but she talks about the 10 questions to ask in relationship. And I use that um, because once you have these questions that you're asking, and life is going to teach you, you just live and you show up. Whatever frustrates you is your teacher. Whatever, is there, it's going to be a pathway to initiate you. So remember what I said earlier, you're asleep to that area about what to do. So what's going to happen? Actually, you're awoke to the fact that this is a situation, but you haven't been initiated into understanding what to do about it. So life and other people who may be asleep are going to put you through the process of waking up, and how you deal with these answering these questions that are your guiding principles are going to lead you. It's all about your integrity. And I think that's what America's going through right now. It's teaching us. It's not about any politician or this or that. It's about, what do we truly believe is true? What is our values? I'm watching people and they're making decisions. Whatever decision they make is fine, but what do they have to deny reality in order to accept this thing? What is the true reason? Where am I at right now? Is one of the questions the conscious co-creator. Where am I at right now? Emotionally, spiritually, physically? We have to be honest. If we're not honest about where we're at right now, if we're doing things based out of fear, out of whatever, not wanting to change, what have you, it's almost like someone telling you, I want to come pick you up. Where are you? And you don't give them the right directions. You're telling them where to go, and you just started from another point. Are you going to get there? No, because you weren't honest about where you're at right now. And another question that a conscious co-creator must ask is, where do I want to be? And when you ask the question of where I want to be, it's the reverse. Because in that sense, you don't think about where you're at right now. You think about where you've been. And a lot of times people can't, like my teacher used to say, I'm asking you where you're going, you tell me where you've been. And what he meant by that is, a lot of times we can't envision where we want to be because we're so stuck in the reality of where we're at right now. So a conscious co-creator knows when to ask certain questions so that they can, and the more honest you are with these questions, the better it is for your continued evolution. And then I go into the 7 questions and all those other things. But I think this is so cool because once you have these principles, okay, so you have the principles, which I think is the foundation, and questions that you're asking, because it's teaching you how to guide yourself through life. Second is techniques for clearing the mental and emotional blockages, the neuropeptides in our brain that keep us acting the same way. All the thinking and talking and wishing. It's almost like you have a radio and you want peace, but you're in the station of WAR. WAR is what's playing on your station. That's all you're going to hear is war music. If you want, maybe you don't know how to change the frequency. You may not know how, so that's a problem. But as long as you don't know how, or you're too lazy to do it, whatever the reason is, if you don't change that dial, all you're going to hear is WAR music. So the techniques of how to shift the frequency in yourself is going to help you to be on that right frequency. And then, like I said, about understanding your own personal life path and cycles. Like in the Destiny card system, the year begins on your birthday and it's broken down to 752-day period, right? And everybody has a certain period that's each 52-day period is ruled by a planet. So then you know the cycles of your year of when certain things happen, you make better decisions. It's not to tell you that this is going to happen, that nothing happens. It's sort of like when you're playing cards. You know, you could have a great deck of cards, great hand, or a terrible hand, but the one who plays the cards right is the one who wins. It's not based on always the great cards or the not so great cards. It's how you play it. And so these are the stepping tools that a conscious co-creator uses to navigate their life in a way by having the right perceptions, having the right understanding about how to approach life, and having the tools to clear up all the mental. I'm also a Vipassana meditator for many years, over 20 years, and it's a technique to see life as it is. Vipassana means accepting life as it is, not how you would want it to be. which is related to the first question a conscious co-creator asked. It's not related to the second one, which is where do I want to be. It's related to the first one because that one will liberate you from all the samskaras and all the past karma because you're honest enough with yourself to deal with the reality of where we're at. This is on an individual level. This is on a national level. This is on a world level. This is on every level. We have to be honest about. And then so the more honest we are, the more we go into the veil of illusion that I talked about. Because there's only so much of the iceberg that the average person is wants to see or is even star seeded to see, what have you. So the ones that are able to see deeper and longer into these long things that have happened in an individual's life, in a nation's life, in a world's life, you know, the honest truth is, there have been many times when we've reset this program here on the earth because we want to save the earth, but we don't need to save the earth. We need to save humanity in this form because when Mother Earth is tired of us, she'll shake us off with like a bad habit. And but guess what? The essence of who we are never dies. So we'll just evolve to the next stage. I think the problem is that we're afraid of change. The part of us that's connected to form and person is afraid of the next stage. And we have all kind of religions and philosophies that tell us, oh, if you do this, you'll be protected in heaven. Or if you do this, this will happen. And all these reasons are not good enough. Because if they're only done because you're afraid of this or running from that and not understanding what your true essence is, your true nature is, there's gonna be a time when you're going to have to get awoke from that. You're going to have to go through the initiation of being awoke and all of that. And it's not a bad thing because that's what we're here to. We're here to have experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever experienced deja vu?
Yes, yes. Have you ever seen the movie Source Code? The movie Source Code? You should watch it if you could get your hands on it.
I have not. I'm not big on movies.
Oh, okay. I just watch them because there's so much that they put in movies for us to get. Science fiction is really science fact in so many ways. Like that's the mode that they teach us, train us to be at the for when the next level of growth needs to happen. They have to put it in certain movies, right? So I watch it for those purposes. Yeah.
Well, it's just a phenomena that has occurred so many times in my life that it makes me wonder, wow, how is this possible? And there's this is why, you know many of us think linear in time, and I think it's so much more than that, and we just don't understand it, or because I can sure feel it in many ways, and that is just one instance, that deja vu feeling. I've been here, I've done this, I know what's coming next. And so our world is so curious. And my question to the people, do you have a curious mind to understand what you're in? Or do you just want to get through it so you don't have to experience it?
That's what exactly what I was saying about do I am I just doing these tools so I can run from pain, or am I using these understanding of how so that I can embrace it because it's there to teach me something? I mean, our body, once we love our body as much as our body loves us, it's like we do our body the worst disservice. It's constantly working. I believe our mind and our body work together to serve our higher purpose, right? But right now, the mind has kind of taken control of the gig is not asking the body for any help. So that's why I say any technique that works on the subconscious level on the body tech is what I learned to help clear that. And the mind is great teacher. I mean, student or servant, but a terrible master. I forgot exactly how the saying goes, but so we need a mind and we need a body. But when we don't understand, like, so we do the body a disservice when, say, you're eating wrong, you're not doing right, you're doing all eating the wrong things, and then you have a knee ache or a stomach ache. oh, my daggone knee is giving out on me. Well, guess what? It needs to give you pain to let you know you're doing this thing wrong. And as soon as it gets your attention, it's like we're doing everything here to make it work. Well, we're gonna have to send out a pain signal because they're not listening. And then when we do, oh, that daggone knee, and they're like, that's the worst. That's like betrayal to the body. It's trying everything it is possible to help you. It's they're trying to do everything. Our bodies is made for us to live. But when we don't follow certain universal laws or whatever principles for we're gonna suffer. And that's a good thing that we did. Imagine if you could just eat yourself into oblivion down, you need to have some kind of consequence so you could get back in balance. So it's not we should embrace these things so that it can help us get to the next level. I don't want to get on my soapbox.
So, that goes into the fear and anxiety that we feel. It's there for a reason. Is it a warning? So we really have to be in tune to our own personal self. And when we have that moment, we have to tune into that moment. Why are we feeling that? And I think that's part of what you're talking about, co creation, being aware so you can actually, yes, instead of react, you can actually analyze and experience instead of react.
Yes. I mean, love, we all talk about love, and love is a beautiful energy, but love, let me tell you, it is a catalyst. It's going to take anything that's not at its frequency and burn it out in the lives. And who doesn't have so many things that are preventing us from being at that higher frequency? It's just a great thought. Yes, we need to love her. But in order to do that, all kind of stuff is going to have to come up. Things, and that's what has got me on the path that I've lived. A totally different, unique path that led me to all kind of cities, different things, all kind of ways of being, so that I can hold on to the truth that uh, I have to share. And everybody is different, and there's no one truth because everybody has a different perspective of how they look at the truth. However, it's not about right or wrong. It's about deciding yes or no for your life. You see, so I could be here in Dominica where I'm living, and we had a Hurricane 5 come right through the eye of the Hurricane 5, came right through us. A lot of people lost their house, I mean, their roof, their this and that. But here in our reality, the roof stayed on, the trees fell, but one fell this way, that way, this way, then it hit the house. So there's two realities that happen. One is one way, and one is the next way. And so there's and I have another quote. uh, it says, "Our protection is in our perception. Our protection is in our perception. It's not in what you could do here, get this and grab that and do this and do that. It's not going to save you at the end of the day if you perceive that there's something outside of you that can affect you, you know?" So I talk about all this in my book, Afraid of Our Own Shadow, a manifesto and guide for conscious co-creation. It kind of tells me a little bit of my story and these seven steps to conscious co-creation is talked about in that book. And it's important because everybody has their own certain path. At the end of the day, we're always going to be judged by how far we want to go to stay on love side. We all start off so fresh on love side when we're young. When life throws us this and that, we kind of misalign ourselves with that, and we start focusing on the they, and we all pay. And then, finally we get to a point through many lives. And that's what I realized when I look at my chart. I have the last degree of Scorpio. So I realized it's, I don't must have did everything in another life. But this life is like the source code. I just came back. I want to clear up all of that, you know. So that's why you don't judge people because you don't know what stage they're on in their own evolution. So I know that gets into other theories, but at the end of the day, it's not about right or wrong. It's about choosing yes or no for yourself. I'm not here to tell everybody that this is how it's supposed to be and that. I who knows what is right and who knows what is wrong. There's so much cloud of veil of illusion that's out there. There's no one out here who could think they know something. Because when I saw what my mom had, when I'm like, there's a whole nother reality that majority of us don't know of. So what we can do is decide this is what I value, yes to this or no to that. And that's what this time is making everybody have to look at. Are they saying yes because this is what they value, or are they saying yes because this is what's going to keep me safe, or I don't want to be that one out, or it's just challenging my concept of what have you? And if these are the reasons, those get to go back to the four questions every conscious co-creator was asked: Where am I right now? What's the best? And then the third is, um, uh, you know, where am I right now? What's in the way, and what's the best solution for my needs. And life will teach you that. Life will teach you that if you're honest with it and you're truthful. Because, like I said, it don't matter what religion, idea, philosophy that separates us, we're always brought together by our actions. And when we act off our higher self, our true knowing, we will connect with other people of whoever race, whatever ideology, when we tap into that power.
Yeah, I believe that you can feel people around you if you're in tune to that resonance that we all live in, and if you've ever walked into a room and got that feeling, I'm turning around and walking out, that's another one of those things. And these are universal in our principles. And if we can adapt our ways to understanding why we're receiving these, I think life can be better for all of us. So, DeBorah, I could go on for hours with you. I want to ask, is there anything that we've missed that you would like to add to our conversation?
Um, no, I think we did pretty good. I think we did pretty good. We covered a lot of things. I would say that this is a unique time in our lives. The end of a major cycle, and just like a mother goes through growing pains, in terms of when they're having a baby, birthing it. But after having that child, it's like, oh my gosh, there's nothing else I would do it again and again and again. Um, some maybe say never again, but the majority of people, when they see the joy of of the final product, and I think for those people who are ready to embrace being a conscious co-creator, to step into another level of co-creating with the universe, it we have to do what you said as a Christian, which is die metaphorically, figuratively, literally, not always literally, but figuratively, to be reborn. You can't get into another reality based on the one that you have been. You have to die to those old ideas and philosophies in order to be born again. So, yes, well, even birth is a death of being in the womb and all taken care of, and now the child is out. So there's a death of that. There's always death and rebirth. It's all connected. It's all one. As much as you love day, you need night in order to get to the next one, right? As much as you love the day, you need a night to get to the next one. You know. So that's what I would say.
You start as a caterpillar to become a butterfly, and that cocoon. See, there you go. See that cocoon? It's the turmoils of life and transformation. And that's what we've been talking about here with this conversation today, is how to get through those turmoils and transformations the best way possible. How can people get in touch with you and become part of what you're doing, DeBorah?
Okay, so I have a blog that has been kind of inactive. But I've been spending so much time on the astrological research and doing things, and with that, so I have not been so consistent. But I have a website. I have a blog that talks a lot about my journey. It's called Coming Full Circle. Um, it's going up to different years, like 20-year cycle of me this whole project that I have. And that's whoiamcommunications.com/CFC. And my regular website, whoiamcommunications.com, has some of the services that I do. And I have a Substack. That I want to start having more active. I want to talk about the journey starting in 2026, about all the 6 cities I went through to end up in Porto, where the whole download started. So I could share that. And yeah, so that's what I'm doing. That's how you can reach me.
Uh, Exciting. You're very active and you're doing some wonderful things out there. I ask you to keep doing them. And if you ever need anything, reach out to us because we're always willing to help. But it's been a pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for reaching out to me and then connecting with me. I haven't had many people reach out, so it's been good. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. If you found this podcast enlightening, entertaining, educational in any way, please share, like, subscribe, and join us right back here next week for another great episode of the Dead America Podcast. I'm Ed Waters, your host. Enjoy your afternoon, wherever you might be.